Hi guys, in this video we're going to have a look at interpreting pie charts. So I've already done a video on how to draw them, so definitely have a look at that video if you need to have a look at how you draw your own pie chart. But in this one we're just going to have a look at how we can interpret them and some of the problems that get asked in the exam. So first thing to say is that these are not drawn to scale, so you do not need a protractor. In fact, that's the last thing you will want to do is actually try and measure these, because this is not to scale. Okay, so no protractors needed for this video. So let's have a look at this first one then. So here's my first pie chart, and it says this pie chart shows the number of students in each year group. So obviously this is at school. And the first question is, which year is the mode? So you might remember from your averages, mode just means the most. And to work out which one is the most or the biggest year group in this case, just have a look at the angles, and we're having a look at which one is the biggest. So quite clearly 106 here is the biggest angle, so the answer there would just be year 9. Year 9 is the mode that has the most students in it. Okay. Next question, if there are 1,080 students in the school, how many are in each year? So this one we need to rely on our angle facts. We know, and you should check this because sometimes they ask for a mistake or spot a mistake in a pie chart. We know that all these angles will add up to 360 degrees because they are around a point. So it's one of these basic angle facts. So we know that 360 degrees, which is the total around the whole pie chart, must equal the total amount of students, which is 1,080. Okay, that's what we know. That's the total number of students, that's the total degrees. Okay, so what I can do is I need to know what 1 degree is worth, so I can calculate all these year groups. So it's a little bit of unitary method. So 1 degree, so I can go from 360 degrees. If I divide by 360, so divide it by itself, I have 1 degree. So if I do the same thing over here, divide by 360. If this was a calculator, obviously you can use a calculator. If it's non-calculator, I've deliberately picked numbers that work quite nicely. It comes out at 3 students. Okay. So 1 degree is equal to 3 students. Once you know what 1 degree is worth, you can go back and have a look. So 30 degrees. So 1 degree times by 30 gets me 30, so 3 students times by 30 means there must be 90 students in year 7. 60 degrees, so 60 times 3 gets me 180 students in year 8. 106 degrees times by 3, or 106 times 3. Again, you can use a calculator if it's a calculator paper, or use your little pocket method. But 318 are in year 9. 3 times 92 to find out how many are in year 10. That's 276. And the last one, 72 times 3 to get you 216. And what you should do is just double check. If you add all those up, you should have 1,080 students. So double check that that does work. And I have done that before doing this video. Okay. And third question with this example, what fraction of the students are in year 8? So we have a look at year 8. The angle is 60 degrees out of a total of 360 degrees. So that's what fraction is, and it will very likely ask you to simplify your answer. So I can divide both of them by 10 because they end in a 0, which will leave me with 6 over 36. And I can simplify that further because 6 goes into both 6 and 36, which leaves me with 1/6. Okay, so what fraction of students are in year 8? 1/6. Why is that useful? Well, if you find out what 1/6 of the total is, so 1,080, so 1/6 times 1,080 and press equals, you'll find that you actually work out how many students are actually in year 8. So when you use this little trick, if it says how many students are in year 8, okay, and you know the fraction is 1/6, you can just do 1/6 times the total, and that will tell you how many students it is. So it's quite handy to know this little trick if that's the only question you're asked. So that's the first example. Let's have a look at the second one. So the second one here to do with sports. 90 students were asked what their favourite sport is. The results are shown in the pie chart. So we start off with question 1, saying what fraction said tennis. So I've got 56 degrees for tennis divided by 360. And again, you might be asked to simplify that, so it's always a good habit to practice this. So I know that 4 will go into both of those, so I could divide them both by 4. Obviously, you can do this in your own way. You can half them and half them, keep halving until you find something else. But if you want a bit of help on simplifying fractions, check out the simplifying fractions video. So I'm left with 14 over 90, and I can half both of those to get 7 over 45. So there's the fraction. And again, just to show you this little trick, if I have 7 over 45 as my fraction, if I times it by the total, which I know is 90, I get 14. So I know that 14 people will play tennis. Not a question, but it's just to show you that again. Okay. This one here, how many degrees represent one person? So again, I know there are 90 students in total. I know the total degrees will be 360 degrees. And I want to know how many degrees represent one person. So this time I'm going to find what one student is worth. Not 1 degree, I want to find out what one student is worth. Same trick though, I'm going to divide by 90 to get to one student. I'm going to divide by 90 on here as well. Nice and easy, 360 divided by 90 is 4 degrees. Okay, so one student is worth 4 degrees. And again, you can work out how many people said for each sport if you want to. I'm not going to do that now because I've done it in the previous example. How many students said netball? And there's no angle for netball. Okay, it's missing. But we know that all of these should add up to 360 degrees. So what we're going to do is we're going to add up what we know. So I've got my 56, I've got my 104, I've got my 72, and my 116. And again, if you add all those up, let's just have a quick tally up. So 56 plus 104 plus 72 plus 116 is 348. You can then do 360 minus that total, and whatever's left, in this case it will be 12, means that netball is 12 degrees. Okay, but it doesn't say what the, it doesn't ask you what the angle is, it asks you how many students said netball. Well, if we know that one student said 4 degrees, and I now know I have 12 degrees, how do I go from 4 to 12? I times by 3, so do the same thing here and times by 3. So I know there's 3 students who like netball. Or again, you could do your fraction and say 12 out of 360 times by the total, which is 90, and again you get 3. So you could also do that little fraction trick as well for that one. Okay, so that was the second one, and got one more example to show you for the end of the video, which is this one here, just adds a little extra element to it. So we're going to look at this one. Students were asked about their favourite animal this time, and the pie chart shows the results. And I have a 2x and an x here, but we'll come on to that in a minute. We don't know how many students were asked in total. All we're told is that 6 students said that they liked rabbit. Okay, so what we can do is essentially the same trick, but instead of dealing with the total, we say, right, 6 students is equal to 30 degrees, because that's how many students said rabbit. And then we can work out what one student is worth. So I divide by 6, I divide by 6, 30 divided by 6 is 5 degrees. So I know that one student is worth 5 degrees, and we need to know how many were tortoise. Well, tortoise is 100 degrees. So how do you go from 5 to 100? We times by 20. Sorry, times by 20, so it will be 20 students said they liked tortoise. So we'll put that in there as well. There we go. And we might as well put that in there. Why not? Okay, how many students were asked in total? Okay, well, we've already worked out from what we had before that one student is worth 5 degrees. So one student is equal to 5 degrees, and in total there are 360 degrees in the pie chart. So how do you go from 5 to 360? Now you might not know that, so all you've got to do is go the other way round and do 360 divided by 5, which is 72. Which means if you do 5 times 72, you get to 360. And of course, if you do that to that side, you need to do the same thing to that side. So 1 times 72 tells you there's 72 students in total that were asked. And finally, dealing with these x's, it says how many students said dog. Well, dog is 2x. I don't know the angle, so I need to work out what x is to then work out the whole thing. So we need to form an equation to solve it and then find out the value of x. So I'm going to add all of these up. So 30 degrees plus 100 degrees plus 50 degrees plus the x plus the 2x, and I know it needs to equal 360 degrees because it's around a point. So if we simplify this, 30 plus 100 plus 50 is 180, x plus 2x is 3x, and of course it still equals 360. So there's my equation that I've just made. You can use the balance method or the flowchart to solve this, and again check out those videos if you need to. I'm going to use the flowchart to solve this one now. So I've got my x, I times it by 3, I add 180 degrees, and I'm left with 360. So I go back the other way, reverse it, 360 minus 180 divided by 3, and I get back to x. So 360 divided by 100, take away 180 is 180, divided by 3, so x is 60. So x on its own there is 60, 2x just means 2 times x, so that's 120. Okay, so how many people said dog? 120, it's another line, I'm getting carried away. How many people said dog? The angle is 120 degrees, okay, and we know that one student is 5 degrees. Where can I write this? Let's write it up here. So one student is 5 degrees. I have 120. How do you go from 5 to 120? So I'm going to bring my old calculator out here again. If you don't know that, you can just do 120 divided by 5. It tells you it's 24. So times by 24 that side, times by 24 that side, 1 times 24 is 24. So yeah, it's 120 degrees, which is equal to 24 people. Okay, so just be a little bit careful. Don't do what I just did and think you've worked out the angle and that's it, that's done. Many fell for that mistake. So remember, always reread the question. How many said dog? Well, it's 120 degrees, which means it's 24 people because we know that one student is worth 5 degrees. Okay, so it's just a few little things there on how to interpret pie charts. I hope that was useful. Thanks for watching. Cheers.